Why did I buy a 987 Cayman? Why did I buy this 987 Cayman? This is a question I get asked a lot on the channel, and it's one I haven't really answered, not fully. I've not spoken about why this car came about, what other choices I had on the market at the time, and why I swapped my Renault Sport Megane for it. Because a lot of people thought it was quite a strange change to go from a fairly powerful hot hatch to a mid-engine sports car, and a massive upgrade, I will add. So quite simply, the first thing this comes down to is a little bit of clever man maths. I was looking at cars around the 10 to 15,000 pound mark, and I wanted something with a massive engine because my last car was a 2-litre turbo Renault Sport Megane inside a Megane CC body. So it was highly modified. I've messed around with it, had engine swaps, all sorts. It was horrendous by the time I'd finished. It was a rattly, powerful, scary car. And I knew I didn't want to do that again. That had got out my system, and I wanted something that was just powerful out of the box. I knew I wanted something with a big, powerful engine that I didn't have to mess around with and I didn't have to modify to make it my own. So I started looking around, and the few cars that I did consider, one being a Bentley Continental GT. The Continental GT, it's got obviously a massive engine, and they're very, very cheap. They actually sat just around the top end of my budget. Prices are different now. You can't really get anything like that now, and you can't get anything like this now. So yeah, I looked at the Continental GT, I was looking at old Maseratis, I was looking at all sorts of things. And then I realised a car that I've always lusted after and always wanted was a Porsche. I immediately started to look for 911s, looked at the 997s and realised they were way out of budget. The 996s, again, they were very expensive. They actually did sit within budget, but I wasn't really all for that fried egg headlamp and the interior designed by a Toyota and all that. No, I just couldn't. I didn't really like them at the time, if I'm honest. I do now, and that's kind of weird, but I really didn't like them a couple of years ago, so that was kind of written off. I looked at a few Boxsters, the 986 Boxster, again with the dodgy styling, so the 987 Boxster. That seemed to tick a lot of boxes, and I went for a test drive in a 3.2 litre S. It was really nice, it was a really nice hot day, and it was nice to get the wind in my hair and just fly around in this Boxster. But as soon as I put that roof back on, it went dark. It was too dark inside the cabin, and I really didn't get on with it. The car felt very old and very clunky, and I don't know, maybe it was a bad one. I haven't driven another Boxster since, so I'm guessing it was a bad one, but it put me right off the whole Boxster thing. They had one of these for sale down the road from the garage where I tested the Boxster, a Cayman 987, and I've always fancied the Cayman. I had a look online at them before I started sort of viewing Boxsters and things like that, and the minute I clapped eyes on this thing, I was like, I have to own it. This car is from 2006, it's immaculate condition, 45,000 miles, and I only paid 14 grand for the car. So that is what led me to buying a Cayman 987, and that is why it all comes down to basically two things. I wanted a Porsche, it was a dream of mine to own a Porsche, and 14 grand, I seemed at the time, looked like an absolute bargain. When I was driving home, I'd often look at garages on the way back and you'd see like a Fiesta, you'd see a Corsa or a Yaris or something like that, something boring. It'd be the same price as this, or even more in some cases. And I remember seeing a Fiesta for 16 grand and thought, I've saved 2 grand and I'm driving around in a Porsche. This is absolutely incredible. So yeah, the price massively did play into it, and it still should if you're considering buying one of these, because they are incredible value for money. Yes, they're a lot more money than they were when I bought this one, and they're obviously going to keep going up because this naturally aspirated engine that this Porsche is fitted with is a dying breed. Like, these things are not going to be around forever. So people are going to start looking back at the old ones. That's going to drive the price up. But they still represent absolutely unbelievable value for money. I then took the car out on a test drive, and as you can imagine, the first time, well, it was actually the second time now of driving a Porsche and getting into this one, the seat hugged me, the sports seat hugged me. And the way it went round corners and the power it had and the sound, everything together, I came back, I just stood and stared at the car, and my wife said to me, "What are you going to do?" And I just said, I don't know what I'm going to do. I know what I want to do. And she said, "What was that?" And I said, to put my deposit down before I changed my mind. And that's exactly what I did. I bought this car totally with my heart. I didn't use my head. I didn't do any real investigations on the car. I didn't really check anything. I didn't have a mechanic look at it. I did no pre-purchase inspection. I just bought the car because it looked amazing, sounded amazing, and it was the right colour. That's, I think, what most people do when they buy Porsches. They don't buy them because they're being sensible. You don't buy a Porsche because you need it. You buy one because you want one. And I bought it because I wanted it. This car started out to be a bit of a bargain. It didn't really cost me anything. I had a nice service done on it just to make sure everything was fine. That was fairly expensive, and it's had some new tyres. That was all it was starting to cost. And I thought, do you know what? I've just robbed the garage here. I've robbed them. I've got a 987 Cayman for 15 grand, including a new set of tyres. This is unreal. Wasn't that long later, maybe 7 or 8 months later, it developed bore scoring. So, yeah. That was a major blow, but it's what built my channel, and I thank the car for that. I thank the car for my YouTube channel, because without this car, maybe I wouldn't have started the channel. Maybe I wouldn't have. But yeah, that is why I pretty much bought the car, because I just love Porsches. I just love the design of this car. It's absolutely incredible. Like I touched on earlier though, one of the main reasons why I did buy this car is because I didn't want to modify a car. I just wanted a car that just worked out the box, was fast. Big engine, looked nice, handled well, and I didn't have to prat around with it, upgrading brakes and suspension. And I haven't touched a single thing on this, and I'm glad I haven't done that. All I've done to this, aside from the engine rebuild, was just put some really good tyres on it. These Michelin 4S, Pilot Sport 4Ss, and they're absolutely brilliant, and they really do change the dynamics of the car. I think if you've got one of these and you're thinking, I want to modify it, just put some good rubber on it first. You probably won't want to modify it any further. These are an ideal car if you just want something fast out of the box that you don't have to do anything with. These cars don't really, in my opinion, suit modifications, so that suited me. I was just done with that whole prattling around with cars and flames coming out the exhaust. I was kind of done with all that. So this was just a very, very quick video about why I bought the Cayman, the decisions that went through my head that led me to this point where I owned what I consider to be one of the best mid-engine sports cars you can currently buy. Despite it being a 2006, I still think it looks absolutely incredible and still offers tremendous value for money. So if you're in the same position as me and you just want a Porsche, give the 987 a real good look, because you will not be disappointed. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.